All right. Good morning and good afternoon to all who are in attendance of our webcast today. I believe that this is going to be a really action-packed webcast. Duration of it is only 1 hour, but we have a lot planned for you today. Today's webcast is featuring Production Coach software, which happened to be the recipient of the last IWF Challengers Award, Award winner from 2018. Unfortunately, IWF will not take place this year, so I guess we get to hold the title for another 2 years. Exciting. First, want to welcome you. Thank you for being part of today's webcast. You might have noticed by now that you've been automatically muted during the webcast. Believe me, it's not because we don't want your feedback. Instead, we actually do, but by the sheer number of people, we needed to do that to control the noise, the sound. You might notice that there is a questions section of the webcast docking station. Please make sure that you know how to access that, and that will allow you to go ahead and fill out any questions or comments that you might have. Just a little bit about the itinerary today. We will take a little tour here of Production Coach to understand some of the concepts and basics of what it's doing to help so many customers achieve amazing results. After that, we have some incredible panelists, industry experts that will be playing various roles within this. I'll do a more proper introduction as we move along, but it will include Mr. Mick Peters is going to talk to us about project management after the sale, what happens next. Mr. Dudley Petrie will be talking to us about installation, training, and integration. Mr. Joseph Baggett will be speaking to us. He's an industry consultant to the wood industry about preparedness and how you go about getting your business in the right kind of a mindset for such a thing. Mr. Gabe Lutz of Lutz Woodworking, customer of Production Coach, and just a tremendous business. It's very forward thinking. And then Mr. Jonathan Saucier of WebCab, who handled the software development and support. And so you might see on your screen that we're displaying a 3D factory kind of representing what it is that Production Coach does. For our customers. I might mention that the system is extremely modular, so you can do as little or as much as you might want to do with the solution. It varies from company to company, and we generally take the approach that we only want to work with companies that we know we can help them achieve 100% success and allow them to begin to transform their manufacturing facility. So just a little quickie to the diagram that you're seeing on your screen. One is depicting office. One amazing thing about Production Coach is the ability to connect with existing engineering or CAD/CAM data. So it makes it very easy to be able to get information in to the system to be able to work with. Item number 2 is depicting that often there are stations where customers want to be able to track and to know the progress of work orders flowing through the factory. Number 3 is depicting that not every single step that you take in a manufacturing process has to be tracked. It's totally up to you the amount of granularity that you want. Number 4 is depicting a feature that many of our customers use called sorting, which is organizing the chaos of parts coming through panel processing or from solid wood processing into a sorting, which is by product, so that we can know for sure what we have ready to build and not. 5 is depicting another amazing feature of Production Coach that is giving us 3D level assembly instructions and ability to generate unique ID or product labels for the system, and of course tracking it as it's moving across. Number 6 is depicting that some of our customers don't have the luxury of going directly onto the truck from assembly, so sometimes items are palletized, kitted, staged, whatever we want to do to get organization and then shipping. Of course, 100% accurate shipments 100% of the time is a huge deal for many, many of our customers. And then we'll also cover in item number 8, even outside of the factory, we can be helping with tracking even at job site or installation. So as we're moving along here, what I want you to first take a little peek at is just some of the opportunities that we have to integrate from other systems so that if you're able to use whatever your favorite flavor of CAD/CAM or data or even from ERP systems to be able to feed inside of Production Coach. Inside of Production Coach, it makes it really easy. Work orders displayed on the left, the assemblies in the upper sections of this, and then the lower section of this would be loose items that are likely to be kitted, but not part of the assemblies. For some of our customers, they utilize our link with Google Calendar to be able to do finite back scheduling of work orders. Incredible to me that it gives me the ability to see metrics in 3 different ways to determine the load on any particular station. So you can keep everybody on the same page, and also being Google Calendar means you can share access with anyone and everything that you like. Business intelligence and big data are important kinds of things. Being able to have information at our fingertips, whether real time or being able to look at historical big data to be able to have key performance indicators to help us make better decisions going forward. Of course, understanding where projects are at either a very finite inside of the system or even at a calendar view is something that is helping tremendously to be able to answer questions that otherwise were taking time to go investigate inside of the factory. Of course, the ability to generate alerts, whether that be damaged or otherwise, instantly, and to be able to have the right information flowing to the right source at the right time is a very big deal. For some of our customers, they utilize our timekeeping elements, not only for the purposes of payroll, but also for work order costing as well. Some of our customers are also utilizing, for those doing nested base machines without pre-label tables, our smart label technology that's about 5 light years advanced over other on-demand labeling systems. Again, we're back to understanding that sorting technology can be done either with fixed racks or mobile carts or combinations of. It can also include synchronization of multiple sorting stations for those that might sort, for example, case parts separate from fronts or drawer boxes or base assemblies. And so it's really configurable to your environment. Just a little view of kind of the difference in chaos management, kind of some before and after of what it's like within inside of a factory. At the assembly level, Production Coach is generating not only all of the parts that are required for the case, all of the fronts, all of the hardware, giving you a 3D image fully controllable by the user, including updating the status of the product and generating a unique ID or barcode for the product itself. By the way, shouldn't fail to mention that it doesn't just have to be barcode, it can also be RFID. For many of our customers, they also have loose or ancillary items such as moldings, hardware, whatever it is that may not be part of assemblies, in a very, very easy and efficient way to be able to generate kits of those items so that they can also be scanned onto the truck. Staging can do many, many things, but one of those is just the organization of where the work order is being compiled in order to make sure that we're ready for shipment. And then finally, of course, scanning on to a truck. So it's giving us instant and electronic verification of everything that's been loaded onto the truck, even notifications and alert if we try to put the wrong things on the truck. This is about being able to ship 100% accurate 100% of the time. And then finally today we'll end this portion of the presentation by talking about job site tracking. Again, it's great to have 100% of everything on the truck, but to know that it all got delivered, to know that the installation and stuff is complete is also a really big thing for sure. So anyway, it's proven results, 100% results with customers. I don't believe that I've ever spoken to a customer who didn't attest that the return on investment was less than 6 months. And so it's a very, very exciting technology that is quick to deploy and just an unbelievable success rate. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make Mr. Mick Peters presenter. And so, Mick, you should receive a pop-up. Please unmute yourself and share your screen. Wonderful. We can now see your screen, sir. Mick serves in a very, very important role with our customers. So after a customer has determined that they want to move forward and we've executed a sales agreement, Mick picks up the ball and helps our customers from there. And so today, we want you to get a little bit of an understanding of what it is that we do, why we do it, and how this ensures our customers' success. So, Mick, I'll turn over to you.
Thanks, Sean. So we probably all heard true statements about nobody plans to fail, but they may fail to plan, that sort of thing. Sean's a big fan of this, and I am as well. If you do a good job of planning, everything works much better. And I'm sure that's true in your business. When you plan out the casework that needs to go into an installation, there's a lot of things that have to be collected accurately. If you don't do that, you're going to have a train wreck when the installation comes. We avoid that. We do a very careful step-by-step process. So first thing that happens when an order is placed, I get a notice, and then within a day, I'm sending out a letter, we call it an introductory letter, to the customer explaining the process and inviting them to contact me and set up what we call a kickoff meeting. The kickoff is the beginning. You see this little graphic here. It's broken up into 5 stages of the implementation process. The very first part of that is the kickoff stage. And that begins with a simple meeting that we have, a go-to-meeting like this, lasts about an hour. And during that meeting, I explain a lot of the details of how this stuff works and what decisions are available to be made to tailor that system exactly the way you want it. This is amazing software. Sean already brought up the point that unlike most other things that you use, it takes its input from your engineering data. So the first thing we're going to do is import data. And then we're going to process that through what we call stations. Stations are building blocks that allow you to create your system and tailor it exactly the way you want your system. So no two of our customers have exactly the same station setup. And they also have the ability to retune those stations as time goes on. As you can see here, these are steps that we go through. After the kickoff, the plan is something that I present. I'm going to show that in just a moment. And that project plan embodies everything that's going to go into this process. It's like the blueprint, like the shop drawings of what you're going to build for your customer is what's in this plan. Then we go through assemble, where we put everything together, set it up, doing most of that remotely. We validate everything, testing the data to make sure it's all working. And then we move to the go live stage, where we actually send our technician to you to work with your people and run through everything in a real production environment. At this point, it's no longer a simulation. We're actually running your production data on your shop floor. We're training you and your users while the production is actually working. It's the best environment for learning. So I've got one more thing. I'm going to get over to the project plan over here. This is what it looks like. Basically, we summarize on the first page the details of your order and what you purchased, what features and options that you have. Next, we show a little bit of a summary describing the workflow and some shop floor drawings. These could be technical drawings, or they could be just sketches in some cases. And those indicate where the stations are going to go, talk a little bit about what those stations are going to do. So the first part of this is all in words describing what's going to happen. It ends up, after some flow charting and so forth, we end up with a station setup chart. And this is what I want to end with. We're helping you at every step of the way. One of the things that's very important is getting your hardware together. We help you with that. It should be something that's done after the planning process, because the planning could change some of those things. And then we list for every station where you need a PC, where you need a scanner, where you need label printing, where you're going to print reports. All that information is for you. So I guess my ending point is you can be secure. When you buy Production Coach, as long as you work with us and we follow through these steps, we have a 100% success rate getting customers up and running. If you work with me, we get a project plan together, we are moving in that direction. Our technicians will take over and we will get you up and running. Thanks, Sean.
You bet, Mick. Thank you for sharing that with us. What a beautiful thing, and I can only say that it's often a kind of a black hole or a dark place that when we make a purchase of something related to technology, we don't always know what happens next. So thank you for helping those attending the webcast today to get a little understanding of the processes that you go through to architect a successful implementation. Next up, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dudley Petrie. Dudley has vast industry experience and knowledge, not only owning his own millwork, but has been working with RSA for a great number of years and is really a committed customer success person. And so Dudley is on site actually doing an implementation right now, so he's not going to display anything on screen. But Dudley, would you help the attendees get a better feel and understanding of your processes designed for the help of installation, training, and integration, please, sir?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm on site, so I don't have a computer screen or anything like that. But so when Mick gets through with the project plan, we go over it together, and then I will contact whoever is in charge of Production Coach at your facility, and we'll just make sure all the computers, you have your computers, talk about where they go and stuff like that. And then I'll start with TeamViewer installing the software. Once everything's installed on all the stations, I'll get you to print a test page on the printers and things like that. Make sure that's working. We'll make sure the scanners are working properly. In the end, depending on the engineering software you use, we'll test some data imports to make sure that data's coming in properly and things like that. At that point, verify that your labels are right, have the right barcode on the labels, things like that. Then we'll schedule the on-site implementation, and I'll go on site, shop floor, walk through it, talk to the guys, get my head around the way you do things. The strong points, the weak points, where the pain is, and we'll work on that. And we've had real good success because I'm familiar with the shop floor, and it works out really well. Sometimes things evolve pretty rapidly. Normally, they're going to always evolve. And Production Coach fits the bill really well because it can change so easily. To do whatever, to follow the changes, you can add to it real easily. You don't have to start off big. You can add to it, and then any additional work after the on-site almost always can be handled remotely, so we don't have any more travel involved in that. So that's about it. And we've had, like Sean said, a lot of success, a lot of happy people. So thanks. That's it.
Yeah, Dudley, thank you very much, because you are being excused after your little part, and there won't be time for attendees to ask you questions personally. I thought about the very things that my customers might be concerned about, and so I'm just kind of throwing this out at you live without any preparation. But what if I've got some old dogs in my shop and I'm worried about whether they will migrate to a system like this? How do we help overcome those kind of things? Well,
once the system is set up, it is so easy. Each station has its little bitty part that it does. A lot of times I see anxiety when I get there because of that very thing. People are worried about you know, the changes and the new technology and all that. And once they see it, and I work with them on their little part of it, they're so relieved. You know, I hear it all the time. Wow, this is easy. There's nothing to this. I got this, and they like it. They like it a lot because the information that's going back to the office is valuable, and it's not costing a lot to get it because the way it's set up, it's so simple to use. We have had zero problem with that at all.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, please thank the customer that you're at for letting you spare a few minutes to share with us and for instilling some confidence about the process of installation, training, and integration. So wonderful. Thank you, Dudley. Have a blessed day.
Hey, and if you have any questions, just shoot them to me and I'll answer them when I get to them, and not a problem. So thanks.
Wonderful. Mr. Joseph Baggett, I have just made you presenter. You should have seen a pop-up on your screen that you'll need to accept. There you go. Great job.
Should be able to see a little presentation as well. So I just enjoy listening to all the presenters thus far and just making notes. Before I get started, I just wanted to emphasize that realizing the value in starting is really important, and realization comes in layers. And so the experience that I have with Production Coach with our clients is it provides a strong MES function. MES is manufacturing execution software. And for years being an industrial engineering manager responsible for ERP development, the MES function was always very light. And so we were kind of left at our own devices to make things work. But when I saw operations, it was really what provided the engine for manufacturing to really operate. And so they asked me today to speak about best attitude for deploying technical solutions. So obviously software can be a technical solution. And the main point I want to make today is engineering and manufacturing software, which Production Coach is, for woodworking business are technical solutions, but can also be organizational ones. So as far as attitude, I'll tell you attitude equals approach. And whenever you're looking at something, usually there's a larger improvement, larger internal desire to move things forward that leads to Production Coach. And so the question I'm most often asked is what software is best for my organization? And my answer, and the most important one, is this: the one you will use and the one that will help your organization become better and provides the best information capability for strategic advantage. So as far as that relates to Production Coach, it is one of the most usable softwares you can use for an MES function. Not only the amount of data and types of data it can take and what it can do with it, and then the scalability. And I'll talk about that here in just a minute, about the scalability side of things. The attitude and subsequent approach towards software is most often the best indicator towards harnessing its power. The best implementation of software are those that are on a journey and not just a destination. As the other gentleman spoke, you do the first implementation, you run it for a while, and then you realize and you learn, and there is scalability to build it on top of what you put together without tearing everything down or starting over. The best answers come from the best questions. The best questions come from the deepest insight and understanding. So when Mick talked about this, it's really important because the sort and sequence function is a very powerful part of Production Coach. However, a sort and sequence that means the most for the operation being understood up front really helps that flow and follow in a great format at the beginning. Too often, the approach or attitude to engineering software is microscopic and focused on solving a specific problem. And this is where we really suggest, whenever this part comes into play, that a holistic approach will yield the best value. Attitude also equals vision. And Sean kind of stole my thunder, I guess. He had better pictures, but these are pictures of an actual client that moved to MES. And you can see the picture on the left and the picture on the right. And the picture on the right, those labels are actual SKUs that actually have a barcode on the other side. But this provides them complete visibility. These carts that you see on the right were loaded directly out of a panel saw. I just wanted to talk about the difference between macroscopic and microscopic approach. Many times when MES functions are approached, it's, hey, look, we can't keep up with this one little part. We cut too many of this. We don't know where this is. And while those are all valid things, they're symptoms of what I would say are larger issues. So in the approach of harnessing the power of manufacturing and engineering software, I would encourage people to be macroscopic instead of microscopic. Instead of saying we're going to solve this or these problems with software, ask what problems could software help us solve? Or what key insights could software help us understand? If you have a specific problem to solve, then I would say solve it, but don't limit the software or its application to that problem only. So often during implementation, I hear phrases, oh, it can do that, or maybe, man, we've never even thought about tracking that before. The beauty is once you realize those things, you're still not stuck in a box. You can scale up. Approach equals strategy. And so I'll tell you, strategy is so important right now in regards to wood manufacturing and fabrication due to competition, market changes, etc. And Willie Peterson is just a great strategist. He doesn't have anything to do with the wood industry per se, but he talks about how those that learn and apply the fastest in a valid strategic context tend to win the future. And probably the most important thing he says in his book about strategy is, as strategic leaders, we have to derive increasing simplicity from increasing complexity. Information is universally accessible and becoming free to all. The internet offers it to us on a plate. No longer does the world belong to the ones with the most information, but to those with the highest ability to make sense of it. No longer to those who know more, but to those who understand it better. One of the beauties about Production Coach, when implemented in the fashion that the previous presenters allude to, is that it provides key insights and it helps bring things together and make sense of it. One of the best benefits software is it should help us get better at what strategically matters the most. I'll go to the last point here. The best attitude doesn't get overwhelmed. A lot of times during software engagements, implementations, etc., there's so much opportunity, so many ideas, it's very easy to become overwhelmed. So what we like to do is to say progress, not perfection, is the key. You may start off with an outline of Production Coach that may have a certain amount of stations and functions, and then you may realize down the road that you may need to add or subtract or take away, or that the sort and sequence function needs to change due to size or quantity or type. And this is really important when you look at it, and we encourage along with the people to outline an implementation plan timeline and apply sufficient resources and stay focused. Don't let fixing minor problems get in the way of becoming a better informed and more disciplined and strategic organization. I'll say that in closing, I believe it was Mick that mentioned the word evolve, and old dogs is when you look at attitude, which is what Roger asked me to talk about, is that as an organization, when you look at the information and who does what with it, where it goes, how often you use it, essentially you're answering a bigger question, which may lead into another webinar, is what matters the most. One of the best benefits of Production Coach is it gives you a context and information where you can continue to answer that question in a scalable model. The last thing I just wanted to say in regards to strategy is, in wood businesses that fabricate and manufacture, strategically, there's three things that really matter: mass customization, even with an e-commerce bit, increased specialization, and scalability. And Production Coach provides a great tool to address those three strategic challenges.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joseph. Just a little bit about Joseph. He has a really strong background in education and engineering. and he successfully led, really, really cutting-edge engineering wood-based manufacturing systems since, I believe, 1987. Some large manufacturers that you would recognize, names, Columbia Forest Products, Conestoga, Batesville Casket, Republic Elite, Lido, Brandom. The list goes on and on that he's been involved with. And so it's a great pleasure to have someone who's such an industry leader part of our webcast, seeing the need for, and real value of holistic engineering and consulting services. Joseph, is doing his own full service consulting and engineering firm. He's currently working on projects ranging from finishing improvements to designing and commissioning complete shops and factories. I'll leave you with knowing this. I'm not giving you the link, but Joseph maintains a blog at IWF, the International Woodworking Fair educational channel, and provides live educational opportunities during the show itself. I'm now making Mr. Gabe Lutz of Lutz Woodworking the presenter today. And Gabe, we can already see your screen, so very, very good. Great pleasure to have a customer who's willing to go out of their way to give their time so that those attending this webcast can have a real feel and understanding of what it was like for them to go through the consideration process, what it was like post-sale, and how it's affecting their factory. So, Gabe, I will turn over to you.
Thank you, Sean. I want to start off by saying thank you to Mick and Dudley for such a spot-on implementation when we were going through that. And also want to say that, progress is always change. However, change does not always equal progress. And the change to production coach was absolutely progress. So as you can see here in this first picture, this is the way we used to do it. We would flat stack coming off cutting and go to a vertical stack. And we would take the number off of each label and handwrite it on the top of every single part in what we called the Sharpie method. And with Production Coach, we were able to completely negate the need for our Sharpie budget. And this is how we do it now. Production Coach 100% was able to help us in sorting, because not only does it see each part, it sees each cubby within each one of these carts to tell us exactly what parts go together to create a final product. And on the monitor that we have, it'll show us not only when a part is scanned, but it'll show us when an entire cabinet's worth is in a cubby. And that allows our assembly team to know that they're good to go. They can assemble that cabinet right here, right now. And once they scan that out of that cubby, it allows Production Coach to then refill that spot for the next cabinet. And our assembly team not only can scan out of the cubby, but they can see a three-dimensional picture of exactly what they are building. And that's a huge help. But once they've assembled it, they can then scan it again, and it prints off a product label and no longer a part label. And so as you can see in this picture, you can see two labels on the back of this cabinet. The white one is going to be the part label for that specific part. And the yellow one is our product label that shows what that cabinet is as a whole. And that yellow label is both human readable and scannable. And it scans onto a packing list that our project managers create in the office. But once they scan that yellow label, it prints off a second identical one, like the one you see here. And so not only is it human readable and scannable, but it also has our logo on it. So even if our cabinets are the only thing sitting on the job site, the customer knows exactly who built them. Now, with these labels, we put two on our cabinets for a couple reasons. We put one on the cabinet So even if the plastic has been cut off or been damaged, we can still see exactly which cabinet it is. And we put one on the outside because, again, not only do we scan cabinets onto the truck, we scan them off in the field. And that scanning process does so much for us. It helps us keep track of what's on the truck for shipping purposes and also for insurance purposes. Now, scanning off the truck helps us not only know what's on the job site, but it helps the owners and the general contractors know that they have the right millwork person on site because they don't have someone standing back there with a clipboard and a pencil. So this is how production coach has helped us immensely in our facility. And again, thanks to Mick and Dudley for that implementation, because we've gone from being able to do what we could to doubling that. And so that's all I got today.
Man, Gabe, that is so awesome. Thank you for sharing with us. Anytime we can get a double, that's a pretty good thing, and that causes a pretty fast return on investment. I know that someone probably will have that question for you. It won't surprise me, so probably be prepared for that. I know if I was an attendee of this webcast, I'd want to ask the customer, how long did it really take, and what has been your experience, and what kind of a return on investment you would get. So I just want to thank you for doing that. By the way, I got to throw a little bit of kudos at Gabe's dad, Greg. Greg was many years ago national president of AWI and conducted one of the very best AWI national events that I've ever participated in, and allowed a young guy that was aspiring to be a software guy to be part of that. And I have to just say that I believe that was instrumental in helping RSA Solutions really launch on a national and international level. So thank you guys so very much for that. I do appreciate it tremendously. I'm also blessed today to be able to introduce to you a dear friend of mine, someone that I've done business with for a very long time, someone that I trust a huge amount, that RSA trusts a huge amount, Mr. Jonathan Saucier of WebCab. Jonathan is so smart and so innovative. And one of the things that I love so much about he and his organization is that they are not fixed and rigid about what they think is what the industry needs.
Well, thank you, Sean. I think I lost you. I'm not quite sure to the text, but I'll be in. I'll jump in towards that. So my goal today is really to explain to you guys who is WebCab. And in fact, if you guys don't know, well, WebCab is the developers of Production Coach. So today, my goal is to explain a little bit who is WebCab and where Production Coach came on and what is our direction and vision into the programming aspect and where we want to go towards that. So first of all, I'm just going to jump in on my next slide right here. About us, just a little bit about us. Well, WebCab has more than 18 years of experience in the woodworking industry. Okay, so we have, for more than 10 years, we have specialized our team in the creation and implementation of software dedicated to the woodworking manufacturers. Okay? So how things happen and where we started from. So I would say it started about 2003. We were resellers. So we started by being resellers of CAD/CAM product and doing integration of software into the industry. We did that for a couple of years. As time passed by, our customer had issues, had needs on their floor or that kind of stuff to go in. So we started looking around, trying to find tools to help the industry, help our customers with the issue they were having. And we didn't find any tool that really responded to the woodworking industries to cover their needs. So this is where we started creating Production Coach and creating the software as it goes through to that. I would say around maybe 2014 or 2015, we sat down and talked back to Sean as we had old relationship in our past of reselling. So we sat down together and saw a little bit the software and decided at that point that RSA will start reselling and integrating software in the United States, but also started to launch and talk about Production Coach, because we really see all together that there was something that we could do to help that industry and make it grow. And this is where we started talking more about the software. But it's been existent for more than 10 years that we started to creating that software and started to develop it with our customers. And until then our goal is always to improve the software and make it grow using different type of technology. The way that we do it, and it's really important to understand the way that we do it, is that we divided ourselves as a 60-40%. So how it goes is that 60% of our development comes from the customer and the industry needs. So it's not us waking up in the morning and say, hey, let's do this. No, we work with our customers. We work with you guys to make the best software possible to help that industry. Our goal is that we love that industry and we want to make it one of the best industries that go through. So we want to work and have tools that it's going to help you grow in your company and help your company be more efficient. So 60% comes with customer needs, customer requests. This is how we build our development. 40% comes from technological innovation that comes from other industries, sometimes a way of doing things that we bring up to our industry, and also go with new technology, being like RFID light system. And we have new stuff that we're working on that's going to come in the future that goes through, but it's really having new technology to help us and grow into our business. So this is how we create and do our development with the software. That's how we do it. I won't go into details with the MES, ERP things, but I just want to cover a little portion and important to understand towards that. Often we're going to talk about software being able to track in the shop, being able to track time, like ERP will track information in the shop or track the time. It is true, it does that kind of stuff. Now, the big difference when we situate Production Coach being an MES is that we just don't do tracking and just tracking time and status. We also have creating our interface to help your people being more efficient in the shop, because it's really that somebody can go in and say, hey, I started the job, I completed the job, change the status. But if it doesn't do it accurately, and if the user in the shop doesn't see a benefits to use it that way, you won't have accurate data coming into your shop, because ERP mostly is built into a business administration aspect. So it's good to manage your whole business. But when we're talking to the shop floor, this is where our software come in. It's been dedicated and built up to help the woodworking industry, build with tools, or interfaces built with tools to help the workers, the guy in the shop, to use the system and get you the best data information or the best accurate data as possible, because they're interested in using the system, because it's just not just punching in, punching out, they're getting benefits and it helps them in their day-to-day business, okay? So the way we do it, we're using barcode technology, we're using RFID technology, we're using CNC sync technology that goes through, also that kind of stuff that can go through. But we also innovate a little bit in our interface. Like you can see right here, somebody at the nesting seeing what's being cut on the nesting, being able to call directly, on the nesting sheet a damaged part, being able also to know what's been completed at the CNC and what's missing, and also knowing how to organize the part as it comes out to the CNC. So it makes it easy for the guys to get all this information, not forgetting what they have to do or writing it down on a piece of paper something that's been broken. It's pleasant to work with the system. Same thing when we look at the sorting screen. I won't go into too much detail of explaining it, but it's being able to have simple screen to see what's ready to assemble, what's not ready, what am I missing to complete the part. And as you can see in this little video, the guy's really simple. Scan his barcode, flashes red on the screen, telling him where to place the sorting part as it goes through. So it makes it fun and it makes it more accurate also for the people to work in, and you're getting benefits. So if you have a special part, well, it tells you where to divide it automatically. You don't have to look around trying to figure it out. What is the part? It's directly in that. That's the way we want to build our screen. That's the way we want to build the software. It's yes, getting more accurate data, but also helping people into the factory. Having 3D visualization for the assembly to know exactly what they need to assemble in their aspect as it goes through. And then it gives you status project status, with your routing aspect, being more precise to know what's been completed in my job and what's been missing to my job, with your percentage of your goal, and knowing exactly as being a manager, is it completed or what am I missing? Being able to have KPIs in your factory, simple KPIs in the shop, red or green, am I target or am I not target? being able to have dashboard with these data because you're getting more accurate to know, am I creating some bottlenecks right now in my shop? Do I have to help somebody? Are we achieving our goals or not? So being able to have more accurate data because your people in your shop wants to use better the technology. Having tools also just not for helping people into your shop, but also the people on site, being able to track what's being delivered to your customer, having access to the documentation or the 3D of what's being built. That's kind of tool or interface that we want to work into the system to help the customer. So it's not just I'm changing a status. No, we're creating aspect. We're creating aspect to help them. And when we talk about technology, well, we do have like RFID. Shipping goes in. The RFID scans the product and green light let them know that it's inside of the truck. So people can use it at a shipping level. Some people will use that kind of technology, let's say with an automatic wrapping machine where we have an RFID chip labels being placed. So this is other type of things that we use being not just interface or software, but also using technology to help our shop floor to get more accurate data or information that goes through. Also for webcam, what's really important for us, it's support. So our center, we handle the service support for everyone that purchase production coach. So we have our team that's there to respond to your question, that has an expertise and know how to handle the situation for this. And for us, it always has been in our past, even when we were reselling CAD/CAM, the support is the main key of success of the software, like the integration. So you have to have a quick follow-up. And our team is there to make sure that you have a great follow-up with that and having in the right delay. And we know the importance once you enter a software like this that you need to have somebody that's going to be there to support you fast, because if it stops, well, it stopped your operation. Everybody's aware about that. So this is just little statistics to show you a little bit what type of support, what's the result towards that. And as you can see, we have satisfaction result, and we have also a higher rate of response that we want to have this. We're asking people to have at least 40% of people giving us feedback on our tickets when we answer one, and you can see that we have a good average of 35% of people that are responding. So we're there for you guys, and we want to make sure when you integrate the software, you're going to have a great team in the background that's going to be there to support you. So that was it, just a little explanation of who is webcam and what's our goal also and vision for the product, or how are we thinking for the future towards that, and mostly where production coach came from, because I think these stories are really important to understand that it has been created with you guys, your needs, and is following that continuous way of being developed is with the needs of the market, especially for the woodworking industry. Well, thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you guys for doing all that you do to not only provide our customers with fantastic software, but also fantastic support. And I just look forward to developments coming as we push and innovate and respond not only to customers' needs, but anticipate them so that we can deliver world-class solutions for sure. Good news is we've reached the T-minus 10 minutes portion of our webcast. And so this opens up the time for Q&A. So I've been reviewing some of the questions that are being asked, and there's a significant amount that are, of course, asking about pricing. This has been an educational webcast and is not meant really to be sales. And so I'm going to avoid answering questions related to how much does something cost, because first of all, it's extremely modular. You can do as much or as little with it as you want. So that's a fact. If you want someone to reach out to you to help you to better understand for your goals and your operation what the investment might be like, just use the question section and say pricing or some little hint like that, so that in our reporting we know that you would like to find out some of that information. In a very generic way to answer, it could be a relatively small investment, even under $20,000, and in larger factory environments, of course, over 6 digits. And so it really, really depends on your particular application. I will tell you that a lot of statistics are made up, and so I don't have the exact percentage for this, and I should have had it before the webcast, but I would venture to say that of all of the companies we implemented in 2019, over 90% of those expanded their use either with additional modules or stations of production coach. So just know that what these guys have said is a real thing. It's a pleasure for me as a salesperson to be able to know that when I introduce technology to a prospect, that they're going to have not only a good result with what we do in the pre-sale process, but they're going to be taken well care of even after successful implementation. One of the next questions that has been repeated several times is related to how long does it take to deploy? Here's the reality. This is a truthful answer. I can't tell you how long it's going to take to deploy because it's not just dependent upon us. And so here's just a quick little rundown of what happens. Sales agreement has been completed. Mick takes over to manage the project. He tries to schedule a kickoff meeting with you. If you're not responsive, that's a delay. So then we have a kickoff meeting and a project plan is developed and it's sent to you for approval. If you don't approve, that is a delay. After the project meeting and sign off, you should be prepared to go acquire hardware and to get that into place because there's nothing we can do until that's done. The longer you take for that, that is a delay. Once that you verify that you have the hardware in place for that, then we schedule the installation of the SQL database and install on the PCs. And so we can't do that until that happens. And once we have completed that, then we're requesting a sample of data and a few other things that, of course, if we don't get, is a delay. Once we have all of that testing out of the way, then we schedule on-site. We don't do that until every I is dotted and T's crossed because we want to maintain 100% successful integration. And by that, I mean running live while we're on site. So hopefully that answers that question a little bit better, that it is as much up to you as it is us. Of course, we do our very best to fit you in the schedule, but because of all the moving parts, I can't anticipate when you might be ready for on-site. We want it to happen quick. We want the story to be good. We want you to be getting a return on your investment as soon as possible. This is a common question as well for those who are not running what I'll call the industry CAD/CAM solutions, but instead are running ERP systems. Of course, we have the ability to integrate data to database connectivity with systems other than the WoodCAD CAMs and CutWrights and Microvellums and CAD Division. So rest assured that one of the things we would do is go through a process of discovery to determine how do we get data and what data from one system to another and what communication links are required. So let's just not make it in a general statement to say, yep, we do it all. Because I will tell you this much, if we're not 100% sure that we can make you 100% successful, we don't do the project. And so that would be anything outside of those standard links would definitely be something that we would go through a discovery process to figure out the very, very best approach to this. So there are some requests for the blog, and we'll make sure that Joseph gets those things over to you. Again, time, cost. Yes, so please know this. For those of you who have attended today, we do record the webcasts. We render them and then upload them. And so because you made the request, you will get a link to be able to review the webcast at your leisure, share with others within your organization or however you see fit. Pricing, and implementation timelines. I think that I've covered those pretty good. There's some specific questions about RFID that I'm not going to answer here because they're going to be really specific to operations. But however, I would say common places where you might utilize RFID technology in place of barcode would be number one for items that can't utilize a less expensive label and barcode. For example, items that might need to go through profiling, sanding, finishing, such kind of things. So yes, we've worked on projects with companies, for example, wanting to be able to track, 5-piece doors, face frames, but it's also sometimes used for product level. That way there could be RFID moving in and out of the shipping docks and stuff as well. So anyway, it's exciting. We want to push the envelope on it. We continue to see pricing come down. But as of today, I wouldn't really say that I think RFID is something at part level for every single part in a case kind of an operation, but we're on the forefront of the technology for sure. So here is a question. Very good. Pricing and implementation. Routings and bombs created in production coach or the ERP system. Again, when we're dealing with an ERP system, that's rather generic as to what is happening. Inside of production coach, we give you abilities to be able to determine what parts, methodology of sorting other than sorting case parts by product, but actually being able to determine what parts need to go through what processes. It really is part of what we do in the discovery process to determine what is going to be the best use of data in order to be able to provide you with the solution to what you're looking to accomplish. And sometimes that information may come from an ERP system, but may also get pushed back into an ERP system. So I know that's really generic, but saying anything any more specific than that certainly could result in inaccuracy depending upon the ERP system itself. So I hope you can appreciate that. Thank you for asking those questions, because it certainly enables us to know that that's the kind of detailed information that you're looking for. And so then we can do a discovery process for that. I love this one. Tips for getting the owner to bite the bullet and purchase the software. Well, I'm going to tell you a story that just happened the other day, and I had a guy that I was working with, and he just was fed up with the chaos and all the kind of stuff in his factory. And he told me this, not the owner, so I assume that it's true, but he actually resigned. And that was because the owner wasn't pulling the trigger. And I'm not saying go out there and resign if you're a worker, or I'm not encouraging those kinds of things. But anyway, that kind of shook it up and said, okay, we've got to do something to provide tools. What's amazing to me is that often we spend money for estimation systems, even for engineering or CAD/CAM solutions. We invest a fair amount of money in panel processing equipment or maybe finishing. But when it comes to manufacturing execution or automation of assembly and shipping, we don't think about necessarily those same kind of investments. And so I don't know what the best way to do is this, but I can tell you, if your owner likes making money, I've yet to speak to a customer that said that their complete return on investment was more than 6 months. And if you can make an investment in something and get 100% of your money back in 6 months and keep making it each of those 6 months, I believe that that's a pretty exciting thing to be involved with. We have reached the very top of our hour in time. I want to honor your time today, and so we will conclude the webcast. Please let me leave you with this. Thank you for attending today's webcast. We appreciate so much that you did take that time. I hope it was a good investment for you, and for those of you who may become our customers in the near future, welcome. We're so happy that you're helping us continue to move this industry forward with innovation like I believe maybe no other company is currently doing. So anyway, thank you again. I really do appreciate it. Take care and God bless.